Good morning. It's the 38th day of the year. How are you? Let's fix a couple of things on this stream here. First, we got to do that by law. And then, hopefully the interwebs won't give me trouble, which it already is. And then, let's see, let's go to this. Let's make you guys watch for 20 minutes instead. You hate watchers here. There you go. All right, so good morning. Hope all is well. I know I say that. That's how because I really do. Because I don't want you guys to be all miserable. So, and yeah. So there you go. We're gonna do something a little different today. We're gonna take a look at the low board. Gee, Steve, you do that every time. But we're gonna do it differently. We're gonna try to find a load. Let's say I had a truck today. Let's see what I would do. Let's say we put some scenarios out there. Instead of looking at, okay, Missouri's green, Wisconsin's green. Instead of doing that, let's actually book a few loads together. I mean, not actually book them because I don't have a truck, but But I do have a truck that I need to look for a load today, but he wants something very narrow, like that narrow, and I don't think that's going to happen, but we're going to try. So, anyways, let's see. Let's fix this. Weather-wise, I'm not sure what's going on. Let's take a look at the NWS. And I'll put this on the screen because regardless of the market conditions, your truck, your company, all that, this affects everybody. So there you go. It's all jacked up here. It's kind of jacked up around here. Hey, look, the Northeast is quiet. So there's that. And you got some stuff going on in around the Quad Cities there. Looks like you got some dense fog going on. But then Montana, parts of Idaho, parts of Wyoming, North Dakota. I almost said South Dakota. That would have been incorrect. South Canada, I guess you could say. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. So nothing, no freezing fog. So that's interesting, but yeah. So, and then of course, wind advisory going through New Mexico, the western tip of Texas there, and then northern Arizona and parts of other parts of Arizona are under a winter storm warning. Yeah, the purple's the advisory. So yeah, so we will take that into account. So I'm not going to put a truck up in Montana. Why? Because that could be. Now it could be clear by the time we get up there, but I don't go up there a whole lot anyways. In my own career, I went up there once, did like a 6 or 10 stop load up there. In the summertime, it was glorious. It was beautiful. It's one of my favorite trips I've ever taken. But if Montana's on your bucket list, you might want to pick a different time of year. So, and hopefully you're not in the spot market because it's tough getting out of Montana in the spot. Unless you're reefer, and then you might be able to improvise. But anyways, other than that, we'll get to the comments here. I had a good, I see Greg Zimmer in here. I had a great talk with him. We were talking about insurance, and I got to look into it. Apparently I need to be better at keeping up with the trucking news. I'm not Asian Mai. I'm not Mother Trucker. I'm not to his level on anything when it comes to YouTube or keeping up on everything. But it's important to pay attention to the news. There's a bunch of arguments on the Facebooks and the tubes and all that you have to. You're sitting there thinking, well, the speed limiter thing. Everybody's got their videos of the trucks. This is funny, right? I watched a Facebook reel today because I like self-abuse. And This guy's driving. He's in the left lane. He's behind, obviously, a governed mega carrier who's trying to overtake another governed mega carrier. And then there's another mega carrier to his right, and he's in the left lane. And he's literally holding his phone to videotape how stupid the whole scenario is, including showing the mirror of all the trucks and cars behind him. And he's the one griping about what's going on. Like, you're literally showing the world to prove that it's unsafe to have every truck governed by doing an unsafe, illegal act. What he should be doing is, number one, get the phone out of the hand. Number two, get behind the two mega carriers that are on the right side and let it go. Let them do their thing. Don't sit there in the left lane adding, because that's how these pileups occur. Is if somebody, it's like NASCAR. Anybody watch Talladega or Daytona? Man, I love those races. One little slip up and it could wipe out 20 cars, right? Well, it's the same thing on the interstate. And so he's doing an unsafe act to prove how unsafe it is, to scare people into thinking you need to fight your congressman for governed trucks because we don't want this. Yeah, we don't want guys with their phones in their hand bitching about something that they can't even control. So there's my little rant for the morning. It's we drivers are our own worst enemy. Can't go into Walmart anymore? Probably the driver's fault. And you can't do an unsafe act to prove that there's something else that's unsafe. You know what's unsafe? Everybody tailgating each other because they're impatient to let this elephant race go and make its course. And if it slows you down a little bit, then you're probably booking a little too tight. If going, 65 for about 5 minutes is going to affect you. You're probably it's like if you have to microwave Pop-Tarts, you're probably cutting it a little too close on your time. It's the same thing. So don't be a dweeb. You want to prove your point about speed limiters? Well, don't do illegal, unsafe actions, because I guarantee you that the person watching that maybe, I don't know, maybe they had a family member get in a wreck because somebody was texting on their phone or had their phone in their hand. We'll look at that and say, F you, dude, I'm going to make sure that this speed limiter passes. Making the public angry about something that, to get on the, to get their sympathy. Oh, we'll shut this country down. Okay, so my kid can't get his meds, right? What's that going to accomplish? A bunch of angry people that can't get their medications because you don't like what brokers are doing. That's pretty stupid, right? You got to pick your battles, right? And you got to find the smart ways to fight them. You're no better than the people that close down the interstate to protest a certain, decision a cop made or anything like that, right? You get my drift? So, anyways. All right, let's go to the comments here. My name is Nobody. Good morning. Grafton, good morning. JF Trucker, good morning. Greg Zimmer, good morning, Steve. Great talk yesterday. Yeah, and I'm sorry I got cut short. I've literally been on the phone for the last 2 days, the whole time I'm in the office. And I use that term loosely because it's literally my dining room. But, yeah, so because there's been a few changes in my little world, and it's kind of got people stirred up. So we gotta. So I'm the listening post, I guess, and that's fine. That's my role. I enjoy that role. But there are times when my right ear is gonna be like, dude, we got to get this headset off. Because even when I was in the truck, I didn't have that headset on all the time. I don't know how these people that like wear it all the time, and they wear it to the bathroom, and they wear it on the toilet, and they wear it. They practically take it off before they get in the shower, and then they put it back on once they're out of the shower. I'm not that guy. And I hated walking around the lot with my headset on, all eyes and ears open, because somebody in a hurry, because he's blaming government trucks, is going to be driving through that parking lot at 80 miles an hour to get to the fuel island and get his corn dog. So yeah, so anyways. So yeah, but I enjoy the role, but sometimes I have to set boundaries and put the phone down. But I get interrupted a lot. Anybody who's talked to me for more than 10 minutes knows that I get interrupted a lot. JF Trucker in Tampa rush hour, ears on. That one guy, doom, is near. Doom. That's a Conan reference for those of you who wonder about that. Don Schonger, good morning, is what I think he meant to say. There it goes. Sterling, good morning, truckers. Don't out-misery each other. Sterling commented on one of my old videos. And, man, I was like, maybe I should listen to this and see what I was talking about back then, because, my memory sucks. And I'm like, man, I can't even look at myself. I'm such a different person from that time. Flatbed Trucker, good morning. Stuart, what's up? Gen Z, what's up? Cheap Freight Holler, 53 van, Houston to Georgia, over $3 per mile. If you got that, then good on you. But we can take a look. Carlisle OC, cafe prices went up, but still 65% to me. Filling out comment card. I don't think I ever ate at their cafe. I was only in that OC one time. And I believe they were closed when I went up there. I did one load up to Pennsylvania at the time I was with Schneider. It was a load of pallets that went to Carlisle. I picked them up in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. I mean, like some roads that I was like, man, I hope I don't end up on some YouTube channel with, on a trail or something. Picked up probably the best quality pallets I've ever seen from an Amish farm. And then took them into Pennsylvania. I think I was dropping them off at Caterpillar. And what's funny is, you're not allowed on the premises without steel-toe boots. Well, I didn't have steel-toe boots. I just had hiking boots on. And they looked at me like, yeah, it looks like those are steel toes. Okay, go on in. I'm like, okay, thank you. But that was the only time I was at the Carlisle OC. And I ended up getting fuel there because I hate the Flying J. Flying J in Carlisle, if I never see that place again, I'll be okay with that. So, let's see. Randy, what's up? Good morning from Casa Grande, Arizona. I've been there. David Edwards, morning all. So glad I can catch this video. God bless everyone. There you go. Jackknife TV, good morning. Lloyd, good morning, everyone. Wishing everyone a safe and profitable week. Thank you very much. Passed a guy yesterday, Music City Transport, in Florida, driving with 2 iPads on his dash, and a movie was playing on one of them. Chat session was on the other. That's what I'm talking about. There's that, what they call that mount. I think little guy was advertising. It goes straight across. And there was like one dude that was on social media. It had his cell phone and his iPad and his, like, had everything up there. And it's like, how does... Really unsafe. Really unsafe. YouTuber got a seatbelt pole camera ticket in North Carolina, pilot camera program to expand soon. Which YouTuber got that? Pole camera ticket? Is there such a thing? I'm just a sucker with no self-esteem. Alman, what's up? I'm sure at least one of the 38 people in here need this lecture. Well, there's 46 in here now. So, blowing more money today, ran over something that had little tiny pieces of pipe that pierced 2 of my drive tires right through the tread and out the sidewall. 88,000 miles tires, trash. Well, that sucks. Sorry for your loss. And I mean that because tires are expensive now. Music City, it's all funny games till they get a ticket for distracted driving or worse, cause an accident. Jack Knife, I was bragging yesterday about how good my truck's been. Literally 2 miles later, the engine light came on. Never, ever brag about how good the truck's doing. Chief Freight Hauler, yeah, my luck's rubbing off on everyone. Quick hit, if you back off 1 mile an hour, let the guy pass, there's no traffic jam. That's true. Now, I'll tell you guys a story. I was going through Nebraska. I was on I-80 heading west. I was in a government truck. We were governed at 65. And there was a truck in the left lane trying to pass me. And after about 5 minutes, I realized, you know what, I should just back this down. So I backed it down. And meanwhile, there's a bull hauler behind us, the group. Or maybe I was trying to pass somebody. Either way. And so next thing you know, the CB radio lights up. Everybody's bitching at each other. And the blame was put on, not on me, but on somebody else. And so 2 guys were arguing over something, over the whole scenario, and they were getting ready to pull over, blah, 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 you know. And it was funny because next thing we know, after all these guys, angry guys, pass me, and now they're angry at each other, they closed down 1 lane. It's, you know, because of construction zone. And I got on the CB and said, yep, all that for nothing. Because in the 1 lane was a tractor who probably shouldn't have been on the interstate doing like 40 miles an hour. So we're all sitting there in a line. It's like, yeah, all that hatred and we're all doing 40 miles an hour. And then the bull hauler is like, well, he shouldn't have been on the interstate. And so, but that's when I learned about, because it wasn't my fault. I was just like one of the, I want to say I was in the right lane, and then there was a truck in front of me that was not giving the truck in the left lane trying to pass any leeway. And if I'm, you know, and as a governed truck, if I'm doing 65 miles an hour and there's a 65.2 mile an hour truck trying to pass me, I will back it off to clear that left lane. I did not pick up my cell phone and show everybody in the world, in the TikTok world, how stupid this is. I just backed it down a little bit and let everybody go on. And then when it was time for me to, if I need to pass somebody, I can. If I, you know, and sometimes like there's a stretch of Oklahoma on I-44 between Tulsa and Oklahoma City where the road literally just does this, right? So if you're heavy, you lose it on the hills, and then now you're gaining on the hills. So when you have to pass another government truck, it becomes tricky. The guy who's lighter is going to beat up the hill, but then the guy who's heavier is going to be going down the hill. So it's this constant, you know, this going on. And so a lot of times I'm having to back it down if I'm heavy so somebody can, you know, so we're not playing that game. It's like you got to time when you pass as well. A lot of people don't have that kind of sense because they're busy on their iPads looking at stupid stuff or holding their phone going, look how dumb this is. Or they're doing live feeds going down the road. Money-making idea, fully waterproof headset for under the shower. Just wear a shower cap, man. You don't need to wash your hair. Holland Donkey, morning. PSA for everyone. Georgia case law has anything other than both hands on the wheel is distracted driving. Picking up a headset to answer a call, talking on CB, be careful in Georgia. Yes. I believe Jersey and Oregon are kind of the same way. Like if you're going down the road going, oh, I need a cup of coffee, guess what? They can get you for that. So you have to be really careful. And I watched a video with one of the Amazon van drivers, the guys that do the home deliveries, and they get points taken off if both hands are off the wheel, unless you're doing a parking maneuver. So there's that. See, there's two extremes. You don't want to be sitting there with your, the old school way of have your Atlas and you're eating a sandwich and you're talking on the phone going down the road. You don't want to do that. But you also don't want to, we also don't need to be enforced to hold at 10 and 2, because Snyder considered, they want your CB radio off as you're going down the road. And it's that defeats purpose. So, how many shippers still use CB radios, right? Shippers, receivers. You got to have that thing going down the road. Jose, good morning. If anyone wants to see a drastically different Snorelord, look back about 6 years. Listen, you all can change your life. Trucking doesn't have to be terminal. There you go. Thank you. I enjoyed Sterling's last video, and I won't give any spoilers, but it's great. I was getting worried for a minute, but then it was redeemed at the end. Very good. Truck with T-Bone, good morning. Donkey, Trucker Mogul was the one busted by the... Okay, I've never heard of that, dude. By the pole camera. Oh, okay, so the camera's on... Okay, I get it. I was wondering what pole camera was. Now I get it. It's literally the camera on the pole that caught him. And you're going to start seeing a lot more of that. And there's also, Tennessee, what they'll do is they actually got a semi-truck on their... on their DOT, and they'll actually use that to look inside the trucks. And then also they'll do a sting operation where they get in a charter bus, so they're up high and they can see what's going on with the trucks. And the windows are tinted. So, be smart, Be smart about that stuff because, that could ruin your career, really, or ruin somebody's life, if not your own. Sterling, you must be bringing his old videos back. I had one from 6 years ago show up in my suggested videos. Yeah, there's a couple that I've done back then that I wouldn't say viral, but actually has some pretty good analytics too. A lot of my Schneider stuff still gets a lot of replay. So I will say this. Live feeds don't get replays. They'll get them for a week, but then once they're 2 or 3 years old, man, ain't nobody watching a 3-year-old live feed, especially stuff like this that's current up to the times. And so, and I recognize that. I'm not looking to be viral. I'm not looking to, get 1,000 views a minute. That'd be nice, but I realize that I don't create that content for that. So I have no problem with others passing me, but what irritates the crap out of me is when they pass, get in front of me, and then slow down below the speed that I was traveling in the first place. Yes, and that will happen on a hill as well. So let's say that finally that government truck finally gets over, and then all of a sudden now you're both up the hill and he's heavier than you. That's frustrating as well. So what are you going to do, right? It sucks. And so with me having the collision mitigation on my truck, that was annoying as well. And so, if we get a driver with our cameras that get a following too closely event, I take those things into account, whenever they get a driving too closely event. I'm looking for certain things when that happens. And as long as you're not in the left lane trying to push the vehicle in front of you, that's when things get really dangerous. So Georgia has a black next gen 680 now. Oh wow, for their cops. Wow, that's interesting. Yep. And then unmarked cars. Oh, you can tell the unmarked cars, they got 15 antennas on them. Not always. Indiana has I've seen them use Mustang GTs. I've seen them use Trans Ams. When I first started, they used Trans Ams. They'll They do some big drug raid and they get some, drug dealers' sports car. They turn it into a cop car, and it becomes the great way to catch seatbelts and speeding. So, I mean, look, we're living in 1984 as far as the book. We're living in Big Brother world. So just know that. Anyways. All right, so let's take a look at some loads. All right. Let me show the screen here. Let's say I want to book a load out of Springfield. I've already got it up here. Now, before I start this, I'm going to go to load availability. I'm going to go to van. Okay, well, we got a couple of requests here. Let's see. Sterling says 53 van, Flint, Michigan. I dare you to book 6 days running back and back to Flint. Let's try that. So there's your map. Michigan's green, so that looks good. Missouri, Arkansas, and Kansas are yellow. Oklahoma's red, so that means I'm probably get a better rate going to Oklahoma City. But man, I'm going to take a punch in the face to get out. And so you think, well, the best rate will be going to Texas. Well, then Texas, you're going to have a punch in the face to get out. So it's all relative. It's all relative, right? So let's take a look at Michigan. So let's go to find loads, create new search. Flint, Michigan. I know a chick that lives there. Let's see. Let's go anywhere. Click anywhere, and let's do it for today. We got all our parameters here set. All right, so we'll take a look at this one. Flint, Michigan, the Bulls Gap, Tennessee. It's paying $1,400. 569 miles. It's right in Flint, so there's no deadhead or very little deadhead. Picks up at noon today. 42,000 pounds. Now let's see what the market looks like that. So if we book that one, we can either pick, there's 12 loads going right back to Flint. There's 2 loads going back to Michigan in general, and then Bulls Gap, Tennessee going anywhere. 473. This is a good load. So I'm going to book this. Let's say I call the broker. I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And we get them for $1,500, okay? All right. Or we call them and say, hey, what are the details of this load? And then start looking what's coming out of Bulls Gap before you book it. Some brokers will help you do that. Some brokers will be like, no, man, you got to book this now. All right. Here's one, Morristown, Tennessee to Bryan, Ohio. It's a little bit low for the rate per day. But notice that the rates are down, obviously, because we're coming basically almost out of the southeast. So let's say I want to go back up the Michigan area or Ohio. So let's look at the Spartansburg. Actually, no, let's do this Morristown, Tennessee, 12-mile deadhead to Bryan, Ohio. If it'll load. Okay. Now, it doesn't, it picks up today as well. So we couldn't really do that, could we? Because this load that gets us to Tennessee picks up today. Well, let's take the dates out of it. This is just a theoretical thing. Then you would grab this one for, let's say we can get 1,000 for this. They're at $986 on the Cargo Chief. Realistically, that's about right. But let's say I'm really good at what I do, and it's $1,000. 20,000 pounds. We're going right back up to Bryan, Ohio, which puts us in within, 115 miles of Flint. And so those are the kind of loads I would look for. And I think that's how Shannon runs when she knows she needs to be home. And so if you pick up one today, delivers tomorrow, pick up tomorrow. Let's see, how many miles is this? 461. So you can essentially deliver this on Friday. And so Friday, let's look out of Bryan, Ohio. So we go to, let's take away this search. We got all these layers. Create new search. Bryan, Ohio. Let's say I've booked these 2 loads. Search. Oh, wait, no, I hit the wrong button. Create new search. Bryan, Ohio. Remember, we're on day 3. I have not been keeping track of the money. All right, so Bryan, Ohio. Now we put this for Friday. What are we going to do for Friday? Or we want to go home for the weekend? No, we want to work. So apply, search. Your highest paying load is going to go southeast or northeast. So let's sort this by highest rate. See what all the long haul stuff is doing. Okay, Washington, California, that's not going to get us back. Nevada. Okay, here's one. Fort Lauderdale. Here's we go. Walker, Michigan to Jacksonville, Florida. 3,000. Let's click on that one. Pick this up on Friday and deliver it Monday for $3,000. So what was the math on that? 1,500 plus 900. We're at 24. And so we grab this load. Now, Cargo Chief's got this at 37. They're at 3,000. It's been as low as 26 and change. Let's say we can get this for 35. So we booked this from Jacksonville, right? So plus 3,500. Now we're at 5,900 starting from today. Okay. Now, we want to go right back to Flint because now we're at, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Oh, that doesn't get us back to Flint, does it? So we can't do that load. So maybe going up to the Tennessee to Ohio wouldn't be a good idea. So let's see. That's the issue with short haul, right? So let's go back to Flint to Anywhere. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so let's sort this by rate per mile. See if we can get the best of both worlds. Get some miles in, but also the highest rate per mile. So Trenton, Michigan to Laurel, Maryland, you got 1,700, 332 a mile. Actually, let's take that one out. Let's do Hagerstown here. This one pays a little bit better. Picks up at 10 a.m. today, here about an hour or so. 1841. They're doing the odd number thing to make you think that's all they got in it. Who's the broker on this? PLS Logistics. So let's grab this one for 1841. $18.41. Okay, and then now we're going to get out of Hagerstown, Maryland. and go back to Flint. So how many miles is this? 1139. So one shift and a partial. Check the map, make sure they don't have us going through Canada. Which you got to be careful of that. 123 is based out of Canada, so you got to understand that their mileage might take you across the lake or something. So never trust the miles on any low board. Any. Okay? Not just 123, okay? Now, so picks up today at 2, delivers tomorrow 8 a.m. And it's 11.5-hour drive through a lot of areas that are probably going to be 55 miles an hour in construction. So can that load be done? Maybe I know the shipper and I could pick it up early. Not to mention the deadhead. So this load is no good to me because I wouldn't be able to make that 8 a.m. Now, if there's an open window, yes, I would take this. So this load's out. So let's take a look at some other stuff here. So do I go northeast? Well, I'm going to take a hit coming out. So let's look at the Steamwood to Indy. That's only $850. Now, let's say your cost per day is like $400 a day. Then out of Indy, you can pretty much. So basically, what I would do, and see, that's the thing. Sterling says 6 days running and back to Flint. So we were heading up to 5,900 on that Florida load, but then we would still need a couple of days to get back, which we probably could have gotten $2,000 for that. And so you'd be looking at 59 plus 2. That's 6,100 for 6 days. That's $1,000 a day, right? But if we have to be back within the 6 days, then we're running short haul. So basically what you would want to do, instead of Flint to anywhere, you want to filter this down. So we'll edit the search to Flint, Michigan, but put 1,000-mile radius on it, which I believe DAT only goes up to 450, but this load board will go up to 1,000. So now that filters out all the Oregons and Washingtons and the Californias and all that stuff as if it comes up here. Thanks, Internet. And so now if we sort this by highest rate, it's not going to give me the Oregons and the Washingtons and everything. So basically what you're looking at is if you want to be home in 6 days, you want a radius, right? Whereas if you want to work every other weekend, then we could be on that track for that original line I was looking at. And then from that Jacksonville, I would have grabbed a load to Savannah, grabbed my normal loads out of Savannah that goes to the Midwest that are multi-stop, and then to get to Michigan from the Midwest is super easy. That's how I look at that. That's what I would do. But like, you know, I got a driver that lives in a certain area that wants to be home for the Super Bowl, and he's starting from home on a Wednesday because his truck was down. I don't ever book a load when a truck's inside the shop because I have no faith in shops. I didn't even do that for my own truck. Now, if my truck's sitting in the lot and it seems to be running okay, then yeah, I'll do that. But for the most time, if my truck is supposed to come out of the shop on Monday, I may book a load that picks up on Tuesday. I was not very aggressive on booking loads if my truck was in the shop. And I recognize that some people can't or won't or don't do that. But I try not to do that. And I explain that to the drivers I dispatch. It's like, look, man, how many times have you picked up your truck in the shop and it ain't right, or there's a new problem? You know, so you know the dealerships literally run your business. You could be a self-dispatch. You got your own authority. You got your own customers. You got everything into you. But you know what? Your You're at the mercy of the dealership. I talked to a driver yesterday that put about 20 grand into a truck, and it wasn't right. Still wasn't right. And finally, it was a simple fix. Boom. It was right again. But it cost him 20 grand to find that problem. And that's what it's not these rates. It's not, look, the rates and loads are okay. It's the other stuff that's affecting running a business. All right. So Lakeland, Florida is 1,000 miles, right? Kentwood, Michigan to Lakeland. So if I wanted to be home by 6 days, we'll take a look at that one. Now I wouldn't do the Hutchins. I would go to Lakeland, Florida versus over Hutchins, Texas. Number one, Texas load is more miles and it's paying less. They're not even breaking $2 a mile on that one. And so when you look at the rate per day on this Michigan to Florida, you're looking at $7.89 profit per day after fuel and everything else. Because my cost per day is at $358, so you're basically looking at $789 a day. But on the gross side, $2,800 in 2 days. Picks up today at 11 a.m., delivers Friday at 10 a.m., which I don't like that 10 a.m. You know why? Because we're going to have to deadhead to get out of, Lakeland area. Now, you'll be on a weekend run, so you probably have some time on whatever you do pick up, but then you're looking at anything that picks up Friday afternoon, which is cutting it close. So I wouldn't do this load. So, boom, back off the board. There we go. So if you're stuck on rate per mile, yeah, you're gonna do this load, but then what position are you putting yourself in on Friday? Right? So you always got to look ahead. You always got to look. You can't just book blindly. Now let's say that we panicked and we booked this load. Okay, now we're trying to get out of Lakeland. So we got 2,800. Let's say that we were able to talk them up to 3,200, which is realistic, right? So remember 3,200, Sterling. All right, so 14,000 pounds. So it's light, so that's nice. Food grade, blah, blah, blah. Make sure the bills, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're good there. Now, there's 0 loads going right back up to Michigan from out of Lakeland. So, again, we're going to turn down this load. Let's see. Let's look at this. Let's look at this Westbrook, Maine. Let's say we're not afraid of the Northeast, which a lot of drivers are. But let's say this particular driver isn't. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to the toll calculator. $68 in tolls. That's not too bad. They're at 2,200. Cargo Chief's got it at 26. Even the low end is 2,248 or 2,317. I'm going to ask for more. I'm going to price this to get more, and I'm going to throw in those tolls, and I'm going to throw in that toll number too. Well, tolls are approximately $68.25. I'll give you a deal. Just give me an extra 68 on tolls on top of this new rate that you're negotiating. Thank God for the mute button. All right, so there's only 4 loads coming out of Westbrook, Maine to get you to Fremont, Ohio. So that may not be good. So by putting this limitation on, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table by doing that 6 days. And that's what I'm talking about. There are people that can't afford, like their business is literally struggling, and they still put these parameters on themselves. So let's look at this Parma, Michigan to Pendergrass, Georgia. Now they're pretty low on the rate, on the posted rate, but again, we'll see what this looks like. 45,000 pounds. They're at 1,600. Cargo's got it at 19, which puts it up considerably rate per mile. Will they go up that much? Probably not. So I wouldn't call on this either. Now I might call if I'm feeling froggy, but I don't like that 45,000 pounds. So it would depend when I call them what the item will be. If it's truly 45,000 pounds, well, that route is very mountainy and hilly, and so you're gonna burn a lot of fuel going down there. I don't care which truck you have. So that's not a good load. Now, Sandusky, Michigan, Sykeston, Missouri. I know who this customer is. There's one of two customers in this area. But this puts you in the boot heel. Now, notice it's paying a little bit more than what they wanted to go to Georgia per mile. But this has a better rate per day. Why? Because it's only 709 miles instead of a little bit more. Now, what are we going to get out of Sykeston going back up to Michigan? Well, there's a few. There's 10 loads. There's 12 loads going back up to Sandusky. But then there's 160 loads going anywhere. Now, so it depends on the state that you're in. So if I wanted to do Missouri 6 days on and be within 6 days, that was easy for me. I literally go from Southwest Missouri to Columbus area, Ohio, and then come back. Or maybe and I did this a lot at Schneider. I would do Springfield to Columbus, Columbus to Illinois, Illinois back to Columbus, and then Columbus to either Dallas and then go through the house or Oklahoma. Or I would do Columbus back to Springfield and deliver Monday morning somewhere. There's my 6 days. I would bounce in the Midwest and then come and do the longer load towards the end. It's not a long load. It's like 600, 700 miles. Or I would do Springfield to Columbus, Columbus to Illinois, Illinois back to Columbus, and then Lima to Fulton, deliver that on Saturday, and then from Fulton I would grab some out of Kansas City or St. Louis because it's smack dab in the middle. That would go down to either Tulsa, Springfield, or Rogers, Arkansas, that area. And again, I'm going through the house. So Flint, Michigan, that's kind of a peninsula, Minnesota or Michigan is up there by itself, kind of. So you're looking at the Toledo market to get yourself home, but still that's a bit of a deadhead. So you're constantly having to go up is more challenging than going through, like what I was able to do. Like if you live in St. Louis, if you live in Columbus, if you live in Indianapolis, if you live in Chicago, you're looking at rate per day on the short haul stuff if you're trying to stay within the 1,000-mile radius. But if you're living, like, let's say you're living in Oklahoma City, let's go back to the load availability map. Then you got to go out, bounce, and then come back. Now, the good news is, here's what I would do. Let's say I lived in Oklahoma City. I would grab some out of either Oak City or Dallas that goes to Southwest Missouri or Northwest Missouri, like Kansas City area, Topeka, something like that. A little bit of short. Like I ran a lot of Oklahoma City to Fulton, Missouri. There's water loads that went up there to Dollar General. I grab one of those. Then from Missouri, I can go anywhere I want. And so from Missouri, let's say I grab something in Ohio. Now, once you get east past of I-77, the rates start to flippy the bird. So, and then the tolls start to take their part too. So I always used I-77 as kind of a marker of like, I might flirt with Virginia or West Virginia, but that you're dealing with mountains. You're dealing with, in West Virginia is always red. There's not a whole lot of freight that comes out of West Virginia. So, and then I would do my method of Ohio, Illinois, or Ohio back to Missouri, Missouri back to Ohio, and then Ohio back to Oklahoma City, which you're going to get a good rate for that. Because why? Because Oklahoma City's dead market, so you're going to get your money going in. Use that approach with Denver. Use that approach with Dallas. There was a friend of mine that had his own authority out of Dallas, Texas. That's what he did. He taught me that method. If you live in Wisconsin, then if you want, you can play a longer game, not the long game, but so if you look at this map, is it more profitable to go from Wisconsin to Washington and back, or is it more profitable to go from Wisconsin to Florida and back? Well, odds, or Wisconsin to, let's say, New England. Well, you still got some red here. So at some point, if you're running long haul, you're going to hit either a red area or you're going to hit a state that the rates suck coming out. So that's something to take into consideration, right? So that there's literally 1,000 ways to do it. So if you're new, I know there's some people in here watching that are new to this spot market, new to booking their own freight. It's these are the things that will humble you. These are the things that you have to figure out for your own. It depends on the driver. It depends on your business needs. The Amazon stuff that Shannon's doing is essentially, that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to run Michigan, Indiana, Ohio. Every now and then she'll go down to Tennessee, and every now and then it takes her into Pennsylvania, and then she'll go back when she's trying to run short game. But let's say Amazon didn't exist. Well, then now you're playing that game with your own truck and trailer. And so if I lived in Flint, I would do Flint to Missouri, Missouri to Tennessee, or Missouri to Wisconsin. And, do like a star pattern until it was time to go home. And you're going to burn less fuel. Wisconsin, Missouri have the cheapest fuel states, pretty much. It used to be Texas and Oklahoma, but now it's Wisconsin, Missouri. And that's how it would run. Kentucky, Tennessee, northern Mississippi. I don't do much around Alabama. Georgia, I got to be around Savannah area. Because I've got freight that comes out of there. South Carolina, you're kind of in no man's land in my book, unless you're, again, close to, let's say, Grovetown, Augusta, Georgia. Then I can get freight out of there fairly easy. It's not the best rate, but if it keeps you rolling, if you look at the overall number, you're good to go. So, what city is Bush Beans in Wisconsin? I believe that will be Beloit. I used to pick up there with Schneider all the time. I think that's Bush Beans. It's somebody's beans. Maybe that's Hormel. I could be wrong, though. So let's go back to the comments here. We're way behind. There are some pole cameras on I-22 in Alabama, too. That doesn't surprise me. The pole cameras in North Carolina are portable. By the time you see them, they've already got your picture, and deputies are usually waiting just down the road. I mean, that's why I never speed in Illinois speed zones, because they got the cameras that are out there. They just have a sign that tells you that. Whether they actually use them or not, that remains to be seen, but I never took that chance. If it says 45, I'm at 45 in that construction zone. Pigtail, what's up? Sterling, Michigan to Tennessee, 1,500. Okay, we're going on the numbers. Holland Donkey says, wow. Tennessee to Ohio, 1,000. Yeah, Sterling was keeping track of the numbers for me. But we didn't get back in 6 days, did we? We are starting to put together the brand new truck today. Good deal. You should be excited. Guten Morgen, Herr Snorelord. DIY speaking German because he's from Wisconsin. Or is that Minnesota? Never mind. It's a beautiful setup. It's really nice. Good deal. They double the commercial insurance cost in New Jersey. Yes. So we might have to do a separate video about that. That's, again, they're doubling and tripling your costs on everything. And you have to keep that in mind. The minimum is now $1.5 million if you're a Jersey-based truck. The minimum for different hazardous materials is $5 million now. No longer $750K. I support the insurance increase because there's too many trashy trucks on the road, and this will make them shut down and go out of business because we have to put our hearts into our businesses. So the new law is in effect for New Jersey, and they passed the bill to Congress, so hopefully we will see the increase for us. It's just an extra umbrella to protect our liquid assets. That's an interesting viewpoint that you're taking. You want this to happen. There's a lot of people that don't. Insurance increases will only lead to more trashy trucks on the road. The only benefit to increased insurance requirements is for the billboard lawyers. Yes, I agree. That's the part I agree with. I remember the first time I drove my truck down to Louisiana, and I saw all the lawyer billboards about trucks. And I was horrified. I was like, wow, I better not screw up around here. You got to understand that there are people that will look at the truck as a cash cow. Got to be really careful. You're wrong. The increases, they will not be able to afford it. Every choice has a profit and consequences, right? Says Sterling. 6 days on the road and I'm going to make it home bankrupt. And that's what I mean. Like, look, when the market's down, as it is in every cycle, then that's when the extra work has to come in, right? And I've done it. I've stayed out a month at a time, just so I didn't have to sell a guitar to make the bills, right? But so there's a happy medium. So by keeping your costs down, it's a lot easier to manage the ups and downs and to find a happy medium. So instead of looking at I need to be home in 6 days, well, if I work the next 2 weeks, then I could be home a little bit more next week and take a little bit of time off towards the end of the month. Or, you want to base your cost off of 20, 25 days a month anyways. But, some people run 3 weeks out, 1 week off. Some people run 2 weeks out, 1 week off. Some people run, I'm home every weekend if they live in the right area. It was easy for me to do that. Now, if you live in Minnesota, getting home every weekend may be a challenge unless your costs are down that you can run Minnesota to Missouri to Indiana to Wisconsin and, basically do a box, right? Okay, if you say so, but when I ran old equipment, I had enough cash to buy a house outright. Now I have a new truck and I have less cash on hand to pay for an increase I don't intend to use. Scorpion says, good morning, everyone, from Merrill, Wisconsin, waiting for the receiver to open. 13 down, 5 to go. Hope everyone is well. I'm going to touch base with you today, Scorpion. No insurance, no company, no insurance, no DOT, no insurance, no authority. No insurance, no more loads, no more loads, no more money. Kingsford is in West Virginia. That's the charcoal, right? We built our house. We cleared off our land. We cleared out the timber and backfilled our drop yard. We did it all the hard way. What city is Bush Beans? Okay, Wisconsin. Okay, we already talked about that. If they want to change insurance requirements, let's start with the personal vehicles. Illinois state minimum is $20K for personal vehicles. I have $140,000 on my lost runs because of an accident in Illinois and their low state minimum. We built our own shop. I'm seeing it right now, watching the new Peterbilt engine being put back together. Good luck with that. No, nobody says, no offense, Pop-Tart, did you start off doing all those things with perfect non-junk looking equipment? Correct. I do want the insurance increase because of the dangers that they are putting on the highways. Good morning, Steve. How many on this chat who owned their truck required an additional $50,000 available credit line would have been able to get on the spot market if that was a requirement? That's a great question that probably the answer is obvious. I mean, carriers are literally signing on drivers that are broke. In fact, some drivers will only go to a company if they know that they'll be the safety net on their repairs. Landstar comes to mind. There was a time where, when I started talking to Landstar drivers, like, oh, make sure you get through the first 90 days with whatever truck you buy, because after that, Landstar will help you with the repairs. And I'm like, I'll be okay. And I never asked Landstar for a dime. I did take advantage of their tire program, which, they buy the tires and then you pay them back, but that was only because for the discount. Now, later on, I would learn that I could probably get as good, if not a better discount on my own. So if I have the cash flow, I can do that on my own. The more you can do on your own, the better. And we have people that start trucking businesses with no lines of credit at all. And to me, that spells, that's a recipe for something bad. Because as it's been pointed out over and over, you can get up to 20, 25 grand pretty quickly in truck repairs and the problem not even be solved. So what do? Or maybe you have a medical emergency that takes away your 50 grand in the bank, right? I know somebody that dealt with that. And you know what? They're broke. Not because of anything they did with their business, but because they had no choice because of a medical emergency. So guess what? Their credit cards are maxed out and they're struggling. So if you don't have a line of credit, don't start a business. You can fight me on that if you want, but I know very few people. And it's easy to max out that credit. It's easy to max out that 50 grand. One bad driver could cause an accident or out of service that ups your insurance. I mean, there's a whole, it's a whole thing. We have spent large money from our accounts to have really great equipment, and your equipment is your business card, so you should have pride in it. You know what's interesting, Pop-Tart, is when you go into certain pilots, do you feel like they have pride of ownership? No. It's about the money, right? And so there's a lot of people that may not have the newest, latest, greatest truck that are great business people, and they do take care of their equipment. And I've seen a lot of people trash brand new trucks. I talked to a driver one day in person. I had a 2-year-old Freightliner. Man, the thing hadn't been washed ever. The inside was all banged up. I mean, it was, so it's like it's how you take pride in your equipment. I've been in old truck stops that they took pride and everything's clean and orderly. And then I've been in like the new Flying J in Springfield that's fairly new. That place is a crap hole already. The new Loves that they put in Stratford, same thing. Didn't take long. But yet the Petro there in Gary, it looks immaculate. You know why? Because they're right there next to the corporate office. Just like the best Blue Beacon washes in Salina, Kansas. Why? Because Blue Beacon's headquarters is right there. If your factoring company closed today, how many of you on the spot market could float brokers 30 days to wait for payment on each load? Not a lot. CDN says I would be able to. My answer is to both of your questions. I did start off with a used truck, a W9, but it's beautiful, and we have it out running now. Most brokers don't pay in 30 days. The larger ones and really small ones do, but midsides are closer to 45. That is true. We went from a W9, we got a 379. It has 2.5 million miles on it, but it's nice because we take care of the equipment. So we started older iron and only rode in an older, and I only ride in an older Volvo. It doesn't take long for the amateurs to dump 60 gallons of fuel in the ground at the fuel pumps. Yes. Yeah, those auto shutoff switches may not work all the time. I remember one time I was at the Pilot in Boonville, Missouri. And I was getting fuel, and I pulled up, and I was getting my receipt, and I was coming back out, and this lady was fueling next to me, and the pump broke. Like, literally just exploded, and fuel was just gushing out. And so and I noticed that right before I walked in to get my receipt. Well, as I'm getting the receipt, she runs frantically into the Pilot and says, "Hey, you need to shut off the fuel. There's a huge leak happening here." And the manager just kind of rolls his eyes. And he's like, ah. And he strolls out there like he's on some Sunday walk. And I'm like, I said, "Dude, you might want to pick it up a little bit." And he gets out there, and his eyes was like this wide. It was funny. I was glad I got my fuel when I did. Jose says, "I can't hire drivers. They come in with no money at all. I wish I helped, but I won't." And that will take your carrier out. That will cost you money if you hire contractors that are broke. Ask me how I know. All right. Just woke up in Joplin. Good deal. Did you get yourself some Caribou coffee there at the Petro? Now, if you're at the Big Apple, they've got good coffee there. If you're at Pilot, hopefully you're not the Pilot in Joplin. That place sucks. And the Loves, it's tiny. You'll at least get some good coffee, but man, it's tiny in there. So hopefully you're either at the Petro, or you might be at the Quick Trip, which Quick Trip's got decent coffee. So people don't take care of the equipment. They don't care about the drivers either, or the safety of others on the highway, and they don't need to be around. There's a lot of business done without integrity, especially in the trucking world. So that's just like one of the things that you have to figure out. So TEN, good morning. You should have at least 45 days to fund a carrier because that is the average days to get paid. That's coming from Jeffrey Like. This is true. So if you're waiting 45 days on a load, you're going to have to float fuel, float repairs, float all your external costs. And if you're paying a driver, you got to be able to pay the driver. So they need to be removed because too many companies don't care about anything but money. So here's the thing, Pop-Tart, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with you. So the mega carriers have the same idea. They want to take out the competition. And so while the insurance goes up for the small mom and pop operation and puts them out of business, the bigger carriers are able to afford that. So who wins? Right? That's how monopolies are formed. That's why Amazon and Walmart are winning the retail game. Because they're able to buy in bulk and make something ridiculously low, whereas a small mom and pop shop can't. You know, a good example of that is records, vinyl records. If you buy from the distributor wholesale records, they're the same price as I can get them as a consumer at Walmart. That's another reason why I don't open my record store I want. So how does a small record store compete with that? Well, they have to get into the used stuff. They got to be able to sort through all the Lawrence Welk albums to get to the albums that will sell. And so what do? You get on the internet, see which album's worth. Well, everybody's got the internet. Everybody's got the information. So guess what? You're not going to find that gem in somebody's basement that's worth hundreds of dollars. And even if you do, and you're able to sell it, guess what? Well, that's a one-time deal, right? Meanwhile, Walmart and Amazon can sell you records all day and every day. eBay can sell them to you used, right? So that's the danger of weeding out the weak. I mean, yeah, you want to weed out the weak. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's too many trucks in the market now. However, if you do it too much, guess what? Well, a 20 truck operation like trucking will seem weak to an operation like Schneider, right? They want to weed us out just as much as they want to weed out the guys that are, duct tape and bungee cords and out of service items on their truck. So where is that line drawn? You take pride in your equipment, that's great. But you know what? Schneider sees a company like yours as like you view the companies that you think are watering down the rates and the competition. So, where does it end? And as far as integrity and honesty, do you think a big company like Schneider, JB Hunt have all that? No, they manipulate the market. They influence the market. They can flood the market. They'll take a loss for 6 months on something just to get into a contract. Can you afford to take a loss on something for 6 months to get into a contract? If you can't, Schneider can, JB Hunt can, and that's what you're up against. Now, you've minimized other risks by having your own shop and getting your own repairs and doing what you're doing with your engines and all that. That's great. But you're still an enemy to the mega carriers, which go above all that, and they're not worried about that. Because if they were worried about that insurance increase, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to yank all their trucks out of Jersey, or they're going to do some lobbying, or, they're self-insured, so they're like, whatever. Right? At my last job, it would take less than 3 minutes to spill 1,000 gallons of fuel on the ground. I bet. Being a fuel hauler, you got to be really careful. And not to put it in the wrong tank, too. I've heard of that. Accidentally putting diesel in the gasoline tanks. Or vice versa. It's really nice when you pull up to the fuel island and fuel hose is missing because it was pulled out from the pump because the driver forgot to hang the hose up, right? CDN says, cheap freight hauler, you're one of the few. Had my 50K was a requirement during 2019, 2022. Way less trucks would have entered the market. Or had the 50K was a requirement during 19 to 22. Way less trucks would have entered the market. The rates may not have tanked in 23. Just an observation. Yeah, but they would have lowered those requirements to get trucks into the market because, look, here's the thing. There was a shortage of everything, right? Trucks were getting exemptions from the hours of service rules. And so they, with the big rates, guess what? They, all these trucks came in. Now suddenly there's not a shortage problem. Now there's not a, now we got more trucks than freight. So now anything can move pretty easily at a lower price, which is what the shippers wanted because they got their butts handed to them during the shortages. When they were charging, quadruple the amount to get a Chinese container here. I will tune in later on the insurance thing. Have a wonderful day. I got to make some coffee. Well, make some coffee, Pop-Tart. That is a great question. Welcome back. Snorelord, are you going to Matt's? It's not looking good. I've got I almost have the car reserved. The wife, requested her time off. She was going to come with me this year, but Thunder and 123 are not showing up. And Jeff and I were talking about going down there ourselves, but I don't see that happening because of the cost and because of things going on. I don't know if it's going to be a good idea. And I'm not going to sit here and beg for sponsorships or anything like that to get down there, because hotel is through the roof. I haven't looked at the Airbnb. I have no experience with the Airbnb thing. And to be honest with you, I don't know if my wife will enjoy 4 days of trucking crap. I mean, she was willing to go. We were going to use it like a vacation. So the odds are not in my favor that we're going to Matt's. So CDN, I started in 2019, says Cheap Free Hauler. Most YouTubers are claiming it was the worst market of all time after the highs of 2018. Now, almost 5 years later, I've yet to have a factoring company. I'm set up for quick pay with 2 brokers. The issue with trucking is too many drivers focus on leasing or buying a truck. 20 years go by, and they have 0 retirement funds. Trucking often puts on Coke bottle glasses on a big picture of life. Yes. I agree with that. I have some friends struggling with that right now. But the rest of my invoices are net 30. And well, dang, this will be my first trip to Matt's. Hoping to meet some of you. It's not out of the question yet. Like I said, my wife hasn't canceled her time off, and Jeff hasn't officially told me that we're not going. But I know that he and I have been talking about it, and with everything going on with him and in his life, and the cost didn't seem to be effective. So we'll see. I'll do a little bit of digging. Why isn't Lowboard 1, 2, 3 going on the mat? It's because they recognize that instead of trying to get more drivers, they need more brokers, and so they're going to those trade shows. They're going to those events. They're going to those seminars to hopefully attract more brokers, because they recognize they have a volume issue. So that's why they're not showing up. So they're pivoting on where they need to focus their sales on. So, which, by the way, 48065, if you're interested in the 123 low board. I know some of you guys hate that. You hate that I do that. Hatred. So, sorry to say I wouldn't go to Matt's. It brings no value to enhance your business unless you're recruiting drivers. It would be cheaper to meet the same people for lunch. Most don't attend sessions. That I agree with that, and then that was one of the reasons why we were going down there, was to do some recruiting. But we do a low-level recruiting when we're down there, and I don't know if it's been effective. I don't know how effective recruiting is for a truck show. Unless you're specifically going to the truck show to look at other companies, then it's kind of an all-in-one shopping. It's kind of like going to a gun range and renting all the guns before you decide which one you're going to buy. It's kind of like that. All-in-one shopping. You can figure it out, but for some people, it's a networking thing. Look at the latest, greatest things. But I also know that a lot of other companies have scaled back because, like even C.H. Robinson's recording lower profits. So I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Now, it'd be nice to get a rental car and take a trip with the wife and hang out with friends, because I know a lot of my friends will be there. But justifying that cost, that's a different story. So now, if I had a truck, then yeah, I would go down there myself and just be in the truck and stay there. Wouldn't have to worry about the hotel or anything like that. But I don't have a truck anymore, so there's that. Only go to a conference if it will educate you or bring you to business, which there are a lot of those that happen down there. There's a lot of talking events that you can sign. There's brokers that go down there. There's fitness people that go down there. Ken Berry talked there last year. Even Asia Mai does a whole talking point about social media and using it to increase your business. There's some really good seminars there. And it would be kind of neat to go without being tied to a booth. But again, we're kind of looking at the cost versus reward ratio. With both feet, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing great today. There is no ROI from Matt's that has happened so far in CDN. You are correct. See? I predict that Snorelord will be at Matt's. Bank account's got to get a little bit fatter for me to justify it. I want to go see some of the vendors available to me as a solo owner op that could benefit my plans. And there will be a lot of that. There's a section of legitimate businesses that can help one truck operations. And there's a lot of the snake oil stuff that's out there. There's a lot of recruiters out there. There's a lot of cool looking trucks out there. There is a pride and polish aspect to the show. There's factoring companies and brokers that show up where you can voice your opinion to them directly. Whether it does any good or not doesn't work. If you're looking for a great trucking T-shirt, there's a bunch of those booths out there. Hell, there's even a knife vendor out there if you're into buying knives. Which I got one last year. It's pretty neat. I got two actually last year, but and it's a good communal thing. If you meet up with your friends, I met up with, it's always great to see Alex. I don't think I saw Sammy or Just Trucking last year. I saw them the year before. Asian Mai, it's always great seeing him. I think I already listed that. DIY was out there. We got to hang out. That was the first time we hung out. We actually even had dinner at one night, which, Shannon was there. And then a lot of our like trucking contracts go out. They know exactly where to find us. And so, so it becomes like there are times in the past at truck shows where, the 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 of us at like trucking get to go out to eat with Jeff, and it's a good time. So it's a good community thing. Welcome back. Return of investment. Matt's is not networking in the true sense to enhance your business. It's meeting friends and seeing some YouTube. Not much value when costs are high. Thinking of TMS, and also hoping Volvo will show up with new models. Thinking of adding a truck next year, New Year. I heard a rumor that Mac and Volvo weren't even showing up, but I could be wrong. The manufacturers are hit and miss whether they show up or not. At least they were with GATS. Drivers go to Matt's looking for products and free swag. Basically, they don't go looking for companies, but there's a slight chance you might find a couple that would change companies. Instead, go to the industry association of the products you often haul. That's where true networking begins. Jeff says, check out Axis at the show. Tell him you know us. Dre said he has met you in person. Yes. Yeah, it was at one of the Schneider yards. I believe. You guys live near Louisville, though, don't you? Russell says, good morning, everyone. Just getting started. Hope my day all is well. Starting my day, hope all is well. I can't read. Sorry, Russell. Right, Jeff. Matt's is fine when times are good. It's not a good move for most 2024 is all I'm saying. Jojo says, I just go to truck shows to shop for gutters and leaf guards and baby roofing. Yeah, what's funny is I went to a gun show recently, and they had the same roofing, guttering people, and it's like, what are you even doing here? And it says on the flyer, if you want to get a booth, if you're selling firearms or related material, it costs this much. If you're not selling anything related to firearms, it's like a higher number. And so the gutter people, it's like, why are you even here? No one's here shopping for gutters. But that's funny. And then the companies from China that are selling products that most trucking owner operators aren't even going to use, right? Yeah, you do. Okay. But I want to say I met him at the Indy Yard is when I met him. I don't think it was in Louisville. 10, is that the one I'm looking at? But I'm computer stupid, so it's hard for someone to tell me something and I grasp it. I need to be hands-on. There you go. So, but anyways, I'm going to get off here. I got to look for a load for somebody, and I don't have much hope for that. So with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If not, then okay. We got almost 60 people in here. Thank you for everybody that's shown up. And you know, we'll talk again Friday, and you know, maybe I'll have some more news about something. But you know, as far as Matt's, for me it's a maybe, but probably not. So we'll see. Mr. Charles, folks at Access are wonderful people. The same people are there. They're very approachable, and we'll have a great conversation. Yep. So, yeah, give me a thumbs up. Do what Scorpion says. Do it. With that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns the screws, and, yeah, don't be dumb. Later. Okay, that was...